I've got a little treat for you today, folks. I asked a little while ago which of these videos you wanted to see next, and you gave me a pretty clear answer. Today is a little tour of my little YouTube studio right here in the centre of beautiful York, where I live in the UK. I'm so excited to show you around and go through some of the tech we've got in here. You may be asking, I'm a relatively small YouTube channel. Why do I need my own space? Well, here are 3 reasons for you. Firstly, the very practical one. I get sent lots of products to test out and review, and together with all my camera gear, it was all started to get a bit cluttered in the room I was using as an office at home. Secondly, I do think there's something about the psychology of having a space to do certain kinds of work. I know that when I'm in here, I'm here to make something creative, whether it's helping with a photo shoot or filming an unboxing or sitting right here in front of the camera. So this is my creative space, and I'm 100% sure I think differently here compared to a random coffee shop or even at home. And my third reason, well, not everyone knows this, I don't mind working from home, but I'm actually quite extroverted by nature, and I was missing people. And this is where my friend Sarah comes into the picture, by the way. She is a superstar photographer, and we've worked together over the past few years on a bunch of projects. And she texted me a few months back to see if I was interested in a studio space for co-working. And I was like, yeah, not really. And then I thought about it and I replied back to see why she was asking. And honestly, we were expecting very, very little. Where we live, there aren't many places like this that come up for rent, especially right here in the city centre. And with a combination of being quiet, with decent natural lighting, it seemed like a good idea to go and take a look. Now, a few days and a bit of mild pondering later, we bit the bullet and we ended up signing a lease. And we knew there was lots of work to be done. It's a pretty small space and a bit of an odd shape, so we needed to make it work for us. The main thing is that this needed to be multi-purpose, so in order to make the best use of limited floor space, plus all the light from the window, the plan was to use this wall as a backdrop for filming and photography. That way we'd be able to use good natural light and also bring out my big studio light if we ever needed some extra power. We'd also be going to be putting in some work desks to have as permanent workstations, and then a desk on wheels that we could move around for top-down shots, flat lays, and anything that required me sitting at a desk looking at a camera. A couple of things I was worried about ahead of moving in was just about the floor space and whether it would actually work for us in practice. We had no idea of knowing before we started, but also security. We had quite a bit of expensive equipment in here. But then finally, we did need something decent to sit on, as these really hardcore chairs were starting to hurt my back. First step was that flooring. You know the kind, it's that scratchy industrial carpet. Probably quite good for absorbing a bit of sound, but no, it had to go. So we ended up ripping it all up by hand, injuries and all, and we installed some lino. Now, the last time I saw lino was in a bathroom at my late grandparents' house, but this wood effect lino actually gives the whole space a much warmer vibe, and it makes it so much easier to move things around and also clean up when we make a mess. I should probably correct that. I meant when Sarah makes a mess. She's quite a bit messier than me. We then took out the temporary desks and chairs so that we had a blank space to play with, and then it was all about getting some furniture in. We got some cheaper desks from IKEA, one for our wheeled unit, and then Sarah grabbed this larger one. As a pro photographer, she's rocking the Apple Studio display, so we quite like the idea that the cables for all of that, when her laptop is connected, could sit nice and tidily away on here. And we also added a cheeky HomePod Mini so that we could have some tunes on when we're working. Now, for me, I've been looking at standing desks for a while, and I'm kind of at that age where I'm actively looking for things that are going to be better for my lower back. And just like that, Vernal reached out and asked about partnering. They sent me one of their desks to assemble along with some accessories. I actually thought this was going to take an age to put together, but it actually took me less time than Sarah's IKEA number. The one I went for is their light walnut with the white frame, and I think it looks really clean. I've actually paired it with the matching desk shelf. Ever since I put one of those desk shelves in at my home office space, I've never looked back. They give you nice extra height and plenty of spaces to hide things away. And there was also a sliding keyboard drawer, but instead of a keyboard, I've decided to fill it full of all the little cables and batteries I use so they're easy to access but out of sight. The desk mechanism is so smooth with this soft start and stop, and it supports up to 160 kilograms in weight with 2 motors. And on the handset, you can set up to 4 custom positions nice and easily. So in my case, you can switch from sitting to standing without any scary equipment wobbling. And honestly, it's been a couple of months and I've really felt the impact on my back already. I try and stand for all my virtual meetings, and generally whenever I feel I need a bit of energy. When I do need to sit down, we've been using these gorgeous ergonomic chairs from a UK company called Slouch. Now, when you hear ergonomic chair, you usually think of something pretty officey, like this. And when I saw these guys on Instagram, I knew they were the perfect match for the kind of relaxed, cozy vibe we were going for in the studio without looking like we work in a solicitor's firm. So both Sarah and I use the Task 1 chair. There are a bunch of seat and frame options to choose from, and they all arrive part assembled. It maybe took 15 minutes to put together and was absolutely no trouble at all. There's so much to love about these. They've got this auto adjusting tilt so you can rock back and forward, as well as loads of customization for your armrest, adjustment around the back for lumbar support, and also a breathable mesh backing that helps keep things nice and airy around the back on a hot day. Now, my favourite thing though is this super squishy moulded foam seat. They are so comfy, and I regularly just camp out in these for a full day, blasting through a massive video edit. Now, I am going to be making a dedicated desk setup video really soon, by the way, so if you've not subscribed yet, yeah, you know what to do. And on there, I'm going to be going through all of this stuff in loads more detail, plus adding some new items that have just arrived. Worth noting though, I was looking for a monitor that wasn't as crazy expensive as the Apple Studio display, but still had a nice clean look. And I was blown away when I found this one, which is by a company called Logic. This is their 27-inch 4K monitor, but they also do 32-inch versions as well as touchscreen options too, if you want to turn your laptop into a touchscreen. And they all come with adjustable height and orientation as standard, which is great if I ever need to edit a vertical video and make the most of this massive screen space. Right, so when we're in recording mode, we try to keep things pretty simple. This is my current recording setup. It's so minimal, it's on the verge of being a bit stark, but for now, I kind of like it. I'm filming with my trusty Sony a7C, which is still going strong, although I may upgrade to the FX30 later this year, which is their dedicated film camera. I don't need to, but I kind of want to. We'll see. And on the camera, I'm currently rocking a 20mm Sony G Master lens. This gives a lovely cinematic look and a nice shallow depth of field at f1.8, plus plenty of options for zooming in during an edit when I'm recording in 4K. When I'm making videos like this, I usually combo the camera with this small rig case and the handle on top to make it really easy to carry about and attach things to, maybe like the DJI and wireless receiver. You'll notice I've actually been using this quite a lot lately, as I've yet to put any soundproofing in this room. And even when I plug in the Rode NT1 microphone, we still get quite a bit of echo, even if I stick it up here, close to my face. Whereas with this one, I can get it quite close and avoid anything annoying happening. What else? On my tripod, I've got a monitor clamped on and connected to the camera so that I can see what I'm doing. This is the Godox GM55. It's an absolute classic. And one of the things I love about it is that I can preload my LUTs onto it so that when I'm shooting in log format, I can have some idea of what the footage is going to look like once it's all color graded in the edit. It also attaches to that small rig handle if I need to decamp from the tripod and go and film some B-roll, which is really handy. And you might have spotted that on here we have got the Elgato prompter. I know I absolutely slated this thing in my initial review, and it's still not the best. I mean, look at this, with my 20mm lens collected, I can't use the full frame footage without cropping in because the prompter's actually in the shot. But you know, I'm going to persevere with it because some of the software upgrades have really helped, and I'm holding out for a few more. It seems like they listen to feedback, which is probably a good thing. And lighting wise, I like to keep it really simple. This setup is actually far simpler than my old setup where I used to have a bunch of lights behind me in different colors. And the one I use in this setup is just the Godox SL60 with the softbox attached, and I just love this light. It's also remote controlled, so I can make any adjustments if I need to without getting up, but really it's pretty much good to go. I can be up and filming here in less than 5 minutes, which is really important for me when it comes to removing friction from the creative process. At the moment, if I don't count my iPhone, I have one other studio camera, and it's the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. I bought this last year and I just love recording with it. It's so portable, it's unintrusive, and it gives me tons of options to film B-roll, including super slow-mo, 120 frames per second shots, vlogging style videos, and also time lapses. It's actually recording me right now. I can also easily switch to filming vertical video with a flick of my thumb when I'm not holding it. There's actually not much this thing can do, and I think for the price, it's a really outstanding camera. I touched on this earlier, but I've got a little podcasting voiceover mic set up here on my portable desk. This is the Rode NT1 microphone with a little pop filter on top, and it's sitting on the Elgato Wave low profile arm. This thing is solid as a rock, and I really like how little space it takes up whilst being relatively versatile. Now the microphone does need phantom power, so I run it all through this little audio interface from Mauno. If I'm recording this type of video, it's really cool because it doesn't need to be plugged in, so it's one less cable in the whole setup if I'm using a desk in the shop. Now everything else in the camera setup is kind of tucked away on this little rolling trolley that I picked up from Amazon. Now we keep our little tripods and lights and cables tucked away in here, and if I ever need an extra surface, I can just wheel this over and we're good to go. It can also double up as a slider if I ever want a kind of unusual panning shot of a product. I can just stick my camera on here and roll it about a bit. Now finally, a couple of little security features we've added. I was getting a bit worried about the lack of privacy in the glass here, so I added a nice transparency to the window to keep any prying eyes out. And I've saved my newest addition till last. It's actually up on the ceiling. So this place has got a fire alarm and smoke detectors, but this room has got two. Or does it? This one here is actually a concealed camera. You can just set it up via the app and then attach it to your roof or to a surface, and then you can view any footage remotely. It's actually going to record to a built-in memory card in full HD, and it can take pictures, and then it'll alert you if any motion is triggered. Now it's still pretty early days in here, so there's plenty of improvements we want to make as and when funds allow. What do you think needs adding or changing next? Just let me know down in the comments. If there's anything you're interested to know more about, I've linked all the products down below, and some even have a cheeky discount code when I've partnered with the brand, so don't miss out on those. If you enjoyed this one, folks, you might like seeing how I've set up my home office for now. It's basically a nice, relaxing, silent movie of me cleaning things. It's over here when you're ready. See you next time.